Diogwit to all of you at home. Grizzly Patcher back again. Instead of a poem today, I'm going to attempt a long form video. And this one is about a rather, I suppose, growing subject of popularity. Today, we're talking about the great Musashi Miyamoto. Now, I must admit, I do not understand this man's philosophy entirely. I have not read the Book of Five Rings. Now, Musashi Miyamoto, when he is introduced in Baki, he is introduced through a clone. The clone body itself is considered incomplete because it shows none of the signs of strain or the calluses the actual Mr. Miyamoto would have. And so they involve a seance lady to kiss his soul into his newly cloned body. Bucky gets very weird, and at the start it was already insane. It just escalates from there. Now, in the show, at first, the clone body of Musashi, it resembles that idealized version. That's man from ancient times being whisked away into modern times. And then the reality becomes all the more terrifying. Musashi's face seems much more apish by design, and I do believe that was quite a deliberate design choice on Mr. Itagaki's part. Now, another thing to consider is how he treats life. Musashi in the show, at the very least, doesn't kill without a reason per se. Now, that doesn't make him any less of a barbarian. If anything, he's simply a masterful barbarian. And every time he meets a strong opponent, he is not living simply for the challenge. He has already supposedly achieved the warrior status by fighting for his life, because that is part of the philosophy in the Musashi arc. What it means to be a warrior versus what it means to be a fighter. And even though Musashi could be categorized as a warrior, he still ultimately is fighting more for the fame of it than he is the thrill. And this brings a few things into question. Was the founder of the Niten-ichi Ryu art style of kendo truly this psychotic and fame hungry? The scene where he meets Yujiro, I suppose the MacGuffin or paradigm of Baki at this point, he used to be the villain, he only sees mountains of gold, Mr. Miyamoto. And Yujiro replies back, even if there were mountains of gold, all I would see is you. And supposedly, Mr. Miyamoto in real life was more obsessed with perfecting his form than he was necessarily with fame. Yes, he comprehended issues such as fealty and whatnot. And he did end up on varying sides of the changes in feudal Japan. And whether or not he was actually in the Battle of Sekigahara is also up for debate. Supposedly, this man, at the age of 8, killed his first opponent. And again, it being a medieval setting that he lived in, I don't entirely doubt this. Though that could just be me romanticizing warriors. Now, if anyone from Japan or someone who simply understands Japanese history would explain in the comments, I'd very much appreciate that. Supposedly, there actually is a correlation to his bizarre mind-cutting technique in the show and manga of Baki to his real-life counterpart. Supposedly, in his old age, Mr. Miyamoto before actually entering any fights, and mind you, he died at 68, he would visualize how a duel would go, and the person facing him would often do the same instead of just jumping right in. And this man has supposedly had 66 consecutive duels. I cannot attest for how many died because my memory is a bit blurry on that subject. Hmm. If I could give you more information on the matter, I would. But another odd thing about the Baki version of Mr. Miyamoto and the real life version is supposedly more often than not he would fight his opponents with wooden weaponry, or take a pocket knife and sharpen a random piece of driftwood, and he would also often come to duels late in order to irritate his opponents. Now, again, I'm not sure how true this is, and well, he supposedly survived 66 duels, so I suppose there's truth to his skill, but I'm not sure if it's quite as supernatural as Baki depicts it. Though, it was enough to make a small legend. And he has been in other media, not just the Baki series. Mr. Miyamoto was also apparently in the Record of Ragnarok series. Whether or not he was a combatant, I do not recall, because that show somehow took the action out of a fighting series. There was more exposition than there was combat. If you were to remove the cutscenes, no, not cutscenes, I'm sorry. If you were to remove all the flashbacks, you would only have 5 minutes of combat. That's essentially what happened with the Thor versus Lubu battle. Well, that's really all I can say about this individual. I could go into his philosophy, but I don't think I'm quite equipped for that. I haven't read the Book of Five Rings yet. Hmm, well, that'll be all for today. Good market.